Hello everyone, it's Justice, and today we're going to be looking through some of my past journals and talking about 10 things that I have learned over 10 years of daily journaling. I am going to be turning 24 this year, and I have been journaling just about every day since I was 13. I actually started in sketchbooks. Ever since I was very young, I had sketchbooks with me all the time, at all times, no matter what. And so I kind of started off with sketchbooks, but I didn't use them daily or anything, so I didn't count that. But with this little Audrey Hepburn book, I kind of started out the habit. And over the years, I've moved from sketchbooks over to just journaling, but there was a while there when I first started where I did sketching and journaling. And so you'll kind of be seeing the differences and where I kind of came from through these flip throughs. But let's go start 10 things I've learned over the years. I think that number one and number two really go together, and the first thing is that supplies and the curation of your supplies are very important to me. I I think like many artsy kids kind of had the option of many items whenever my family kind of went to stores. Art supplies for children, kind of cheap. Like, you can get all kinds of watercolors, marker sets, that kind of thing that are low quality for like 20, $30. And so I had a ton of those things growing up. And so I used them. I used them up like one does whenever they're like 13 and doesn't really care. They're just like, sweet, I have this, so I'm going to use that. Went to the library, used it to print out pictures. It was beautiful. But as I've kind of learned what I like, I kind of stuck with those things. And so with my early journals, I really liked paints, but I learned that I really liked certain types of watercolors and how they kind of stuck to the paper. And then, of course, the paper mattered a lot because only certain papers would actually make them look really nice. And then pens, what pens would write on it well. And so finding those matches for myself and then sticking with them throughout the years has really helped me out. Kind of like currently where I am, my like goal, or not really goal, but I guess like S rank, double S rank, triple S rank of things is Tomoe River paper, and then fountain pen inks like the Iroshizuku inks or a archival ink. Those are my favorites. I like those things. I try not to really stray from those things. I can add to those things as long as those are in the elements. So quality over quantity. And then number two is actually what I love and what I don't love. So you can kind of see going through here, I really like layering things, but I don't like super duper duper bulky. So there are going to be a few that you see, a few journals rather, that you see that are really chunky monkeys. I hate them. I really do not like them and how they sit on my shelf. And for something that I'm going to keep for the rest of my life, having something so fat and so chunky that doesn't really look like it goes with the rest of the group doesn't really sit right with me. And so with collaging and things like that, I like very thin elements. Like I don't like chipboard or puff stickers or anything like that because the only thing I can think about is how massive it's going to make my book, and I really hate that. Additionally, archiving is important. That's number three. Archiving is so important, for me at least. If you're someone that wants to write in a journal and then burn it or throw it away, that is your prerogative. I don't really have that many things that I will hold on to throughout the years no matter what, but my journals are one of them. If my house were to light itself on fire and my family and my pets were safe and I had all of the like super important documents that I need, of course, the first thing I'm grabbing is my bins of journals. That's what I want. And so kind of keep in mind what you're going to be using and archiving in your actual journal. So when I first started out, I have a few journals from whenever I went to Disney World. I put receipts after receipts after receipts in those things, and receipts are not heat safe, I guess. And I live in Florida, and so if my books are anywhere that is not air conditioned, those over the years have just turned black. And so I'll look at some pieces of paper and they're just completely black because they're receipts. They can't really take the heat. If I think that I'm not going to be putting a journal in the lovely air conditioned house that I live in, then I'm not putting receipts in it. I'm also just really upset by that, and so I don't put receipts in anything anymore because I'm just like, well, what if something bad happens? And then I look back and just see this black piece of paper and I get all mad. And so that's something to keep in mind. Additionally, inks. The inks that you use or the pencils that you use. There are a few of these where I kind of flip back and I can definitely tell that my ink has faded already and it's only been 10 years, or the ink that I used has smeared with water being spilled on it at some point while I'm actively using the journal. And so me flipping through it now, years after the fact, can't really read it, can't really see all too much. So that's something to keep in mind. A lot of my old sketchbooks, I actually used the archival like Sakura microns. Beautiful. Over the years, they look exactly the same. Even my like 003 super thin needly pen, beautiful. A lot of the watercolors, beautiful. The watercolors that I know were the student grade watercolors that I just got from my like middle school art class. They've kind of faded a whole lot and they're kind of dusty now, but that's also to be expected. So I've kind of learned that archiving is important and you kind of got to keep in mind the materials that you use. But there are going to be some things that don't really matter all that much, like for fodder and for just daily scrap things that you want to put in. I don't really think that that matters, because if I look at an old, yellowed, crusty McDonald's napkin, I'm gonna be like, oh my god, this is so old, how funny that I still have it. I'm not gonna be like, oh, it's not pristine, I don't, No, you gotta keep it in mind that some things you gotta think about, whereas other things, it doesn't matter if they get old or weird, it's just a miracle that they've survived the test of time anyways, and so kind of weigh that out in your head. Number 4, try not to think about the importance of what you're writing or the importance of what you're drawing or the finished work. If you're doing it, it's important to you. And whether or not it's finished, whether or not it turns out how you wanted it to be, that's where you were at that point in your story, in your life. That's something that took me a while to learn, I think. Because looking through a lot of my old diaries that I'm not flipping through because I really did not spare any details, there were a lot of things where I kind of like titled my journal entry because I knew where I wanted it to go. And I just remember not writing very much because I would kind of think about what I wanted to write and I would be like, well, I really don't think that this will matter down the line, so why would I even bother writing it? And if that is truly how you want to journal, then go for it. But I really okay, to put it this way, this is a really lame way of putting it. If I were an anime, I would be a slice of life anime. So many stupid things happen in a day. They don't matter. You could skip a whole episode and then the next episode still makes sense because it doesn't fucking matter. That is my life. And so I kind of like to think about my journals, my sketchbooks, my diaries as that. What I am putting down right now matters to me right now. Doesn't matter what I think later. And so I think that that is something very important that I learned, and it took me a few years to learn that. Because I have so many things where I've tried to like plan out what was going on, or in my sketchbook, if a picture didn't turn out how I wanted it to go, then I would scrap the whole thing and just leave it. Accept where you are right now. And number 5, again, kind of similar to that, what you're struggling with right now will mean nothing to you later on. And that kind of goes along with the whole it gets better thing, which I really have a problem with. I really hate that term, or that phrase, I guess. I don't like the it gets better. I think that as time goes on, things grow more dull, things grow more distant, things have less weight in your heart. What you are going through right now is important, but 2, 3, 4, 10 years later, it's not going to mean a thing to you. Looking through my journals from middle school and high school and all of the social interactions that I had with people that at that time were very large plot points in my year. They don't matter. I don't care. I remember who these people are. I remember what happened, but I don't really give much of a hoot what in the world they did to me, what I did to them, the interpersonal relationships between him, her, them, whatever, their pets. I don't care. And maybe that's just me being distant, but I genuinely do not care. I'm reading through these and I'm just like, how vapid was I? And like, keep in mind, I'm very vapid now, so that says a lot. But daily struggles really don't mean much to you later on. Still write about them, they mean to you more then, but as a comforting thing, if I'm writing about a terrible day that I've had, something that comforts me is knowing, well, whenever I read this back in the year, it won't matter. And so that helps me. I don't know if it'll help you, but it helps me. And number 6, document the funny things and all firsts. Whenever I do go back through my journals, like once or twice a year, it is always so fun to me whenever I flip through and I see a page of like the first time I've been to some local business, the first time I did something, just a small funny snippet from the day. Like, oh, I went down to the marketing department today and I didn't really see that there was a glass separating an office and I slammed right into someone's glass and that's how I introduced myself to them. That's funny. I'm gonna look back and be like, OMG, I can't believe that that's so funny. Like, we're really good coworkers now. I can't believe that was our introduction. True story. So document fun things like that because you're going to look back at them and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it started there. Or like, I go to that coffee shop every day now. Number 7, the line for me between memory keeping, journaling, and planning is very wonky. I kind of combine all of them, and that is fine. I would much rather combine all of them than to have separate book after separate book after separate book, which I already kind of have. But the more I can condense things into one book, the better. So I'm always going to have multiple books because I'm just a planner person, but I don't need to have things in separate things. I will combine them and it's fine. Some people need separate planners. Not for me. Number 8, everyone is different, so take ideas but never compare yourself. Something that I really like on Instagram is looking through like the Traveler's Notebook and the Hobonichi planners because there are so many people that sink a lot of time into these books. They will sketch out, they will write really small, they will painstakingly collage, or at least what looks like it to me. I am not that girl. I can appreciate what they do, I can put little elements of what they do into my daily journaling, but I will never be them. And that is totally fine. I am me. I can take some of their ideas and roll with them, but ultimately I will never be them. And that's super cool. Number 9, setting time aside and prioritizing your journaling time is something that you need to do every day. I think that is a struggle for a lot of people getting into the hobby is finding the time. What I like to do is in the mornings, whenever I'm getting ready for work, having my coffee, doing my makeup, doing all of that, I set aside a little bit of journal time. How many times can I say time? I set aside some time for my journal. Either that or I do it in the evenings whenever me and my partner Danny are just watching TV and I'll journal there. Those are like comforting little snippets of my day and I would not change it for the world. I have 1 to 2 times a day where breaking out my journal is appropriate and I love it. And number 10, why do I keep journaling? What is important to me about journaling? I think that is the biggest lesson that I have learned over these 10 years. Because if you kind of have a decade of doing something compulsively, you kind of have to take a step back and be like, why? Why do I do this? And other aside from not being able to not do it, I really like having a place to document my day and place importance on things, and also have a place where I can reference. Because a lot of the things I write down, I don't remember anymore. And that is really scary to me. Like I said, I'm 23, turning 24. and my memory is not super awesome. And I think that there is an aspect of normality to that. Like, not everyone is going to remember small, mundane things that happen to them. But that in itself is terrifying to me, and I want to be able to have all of these memories. Um, I don't want to be, like, later on in life and not be able to really know what I did back in the day. And so I think to me, these are very important in that whenever I get old and I start losing my memories and stuff, these will be something that I can use to reference and to remember myself and remember who I was and what was important to me. And I'm starting to get a little emotional here, but I think that's something that a lot of us can relate to. Not having your memories is really scary, and for me, that's a big drawing point for why I journal, because I just want to have everything, even if I forget to pass down. Anyways, that is 10 things that I have learned over 10 years of journaling every single day. And for a lot of people, that's a lot. I mean, it really is. And you kind of saw the mass of journals that I have gone through. But these are my pride and joy, and I hope that you find yours. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.